Megan, the link's on the board docs page of the website, and you should be able to click on it, and as soon as we get a live video in a minute, you'll be able to see it. All right, Ms. Bates Clemens is on the phone, okay? We're live?
Mr. Rice is not coming.
Okay. All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the curriculum meeting. We do not have any public comment for the start of our meeting, so we'll get right into it. Dr. Stein, the career pathways proposal.
Walters, we are so excited to be able to present this proposal tonight for career pathways at the high school. And I'd really like to begin by sharing with everyone that it's been a journey. So that it has been several years since the inception of, oh, there it is. This is really just showing you that we met in 2018 and we had committee members. This brought excitement to the high school. We had representatives from all the departments and the administrators really starting to talk about the why. Why do we need them? Why do we want pathways at the high school? I'm having trouble. There we go. Now I missed one. We expanded the committee, as you can see, in 2019, all the way through 2021. And really, the leadership moved from me and Gina DeBona and the administrators to Mr. Dyer and Mrs. Garish, and the ownership really started to develop within the team. So it was very exciting. More people, the more we talked about it and discussed it, the more excited other departments in the high school got about it. So it really started to, the idea started to grow. And I still have to. So before COVID hit, we had gotten to the point where we had local business. We had a panel, actually. It was the business partner panel, because college and career pathways really is about giving students time and experiences so that they can match their desires and their abilities to some possible future careers. And we really wanted to do that. And one of the ways that we knew that we needed to focus on was the careers. So we looked, and it was really Mr. Dyer, and he'll explain more about that. So Mr. Dyer went out to the community, and we had a meeting. This was January 7th in 2020, and we were able to bring in, well, I am really so just be careful because it's not like the last slide, I think. So the discussion group. So this was actually the last time we were together. We brought in, or Mr. Dyer really brought this panel in, and we had our teachers and administrators who were part of the committee be able to ask questions. And then this panel asked us questions. And really what we wanted to do was start thinking about what it is, what do you need out in the labor force, making sure that we're preparing students for you. And then COVID hit. So we did not have any other meeting until this year. So we had a virtual meeting and we met again. And we had been planning, we've been doing the work in the meantime. So at this point, we are ready to propose the pathways for the high school. And Mr. Dyer has taken the lead, and I'm going to ask him to actually walk through the proposal with you so that you can see the thought behind it and the phases that we're thinking about bringing to the high school beginning in this coming year. Mr. Dyer, I'm hoping. Yeah, this is a part.
I was going to say, if it's easier, I'll advance them. Just tell me when to advance the slide.
Well, I think the next part is through the proposal.
Oops. Might just be a distance thing. There you go.
You think your eyes are bad now?
Mine are bad. That's why I got a hard copy.
So thank you so much for taking the opportunity to allow us to come and discuss this fantastic and really truly amazing opportunity for our kids. starting with our high school, but eventually we like to expand, towards the middle school to incorporate them as well. Any questions at this point before we get too far into it about the business panel or anything like that? That really produced some good fruit for us as far as feedback from the community business owners. So we were so excited at the end of that meeting to really push forward, and we were hoping that we'd be able to meet with you all shortly thereafter that business partner meeting, but COVID hit and here we are now. So going through the proposal is what is Career Pathways? The primary focus of Career Pathways is to give students the ability to, one, have a guided, purposeful education here at Columbia. So we want them to start thinking about their futures early in the process of course selection. It'll make that course selection a lot more meaningful to them as they go through their high school career with the end in mind. Sometimes now students come into the high school, they're just looking to fill schedules, and by the time they get to their sophomore or junior year, they find like, oh, I should have taken these classes earlier, so sort of get me ready. So the goal of this is to get the children and our students ready for the future early and often. The second critical phase of Career Pathways is the experience of real-world workplace, working with somebody who's in the field currently, and to be able to help those students along to understand what the career field requires in education, requires the type of person to work in that field, what kind of background they need, what kind of major they should take in school, or what kind of technical training they should take to achieve that career goal. So those two prongs are probably our most effective ways for our students to learn and really grow through this program. So as you're going through, I'll walk you through the proposal, and if there's any questions, please feel free to stop me. I literally can talk about this for hours. So please, we'll start on the first page there. And it's often we overlook this bit of information, but there's a lot of useful information. The state of Pennsylvania, our future as a state and our economic future and prosperity depends on our students now. Making sure they're trained correctly, making sure they have the proper education. So this Career Pathways program is sort of that first step to get them to that level where they can be productive members of society, contributing to their local community and growing personally. So the state already has some available resources out there. The Career Ready PA and Bucks County just launched their careerreadybucks.org last week, so which is very exciting. So now we can work alongside the IU and the rest of the Bucks County community in growing opportunities for our students, which just makes the whole system a little bit easier to work with. So one of the keys is, when do we start to align the students in their career field? And one of the earliest questions we get asked, even on our committee, was if a child chooses to be in the nursing pathway, are they stuck there? And the answer is no. And they can always change pathways, and they will have no loss of credits. So the flexibility is a benefit to this program for our students because it allows them to maintain a rigorous academic schedule, but still have the flexibility to learn of what they're interested in without pigeonholing them into one particular program. So on the first page there, number 2, the opportunity is available for the whole student body. So the entire student body is going to have access to this Career Pathways program. Whether they're planning a career in the trades, they're going off to college, or they're going straight into the military or the workforce, they will have the opportunity to benefit from the Career Pathways. It's not just a certain population. It is available to all students here at the high school going forward. And that focused educational program is the key that we really want to help them understand is going to be driving their decision making in the future, along with their parents and teachers and guidance counselors as well. But that focus choices they make will help them be successful in the future. We're already familiar with the Chapter 339, the Guidance and Counseling Plan. And a lot of this is going to help meet those criteria. We'll provide multiple artifacts that the students are creating and achieving certain knowledge-based guideposts. On the page 3 there, I guess, of the program of studies, we're looking at, of the program of improvement. This is the program of studies. That'll be an ongoing thing, I think, with the curriculum office in the future as we start to develop the program. What's the program of studies? That's where the kids really get to choose the types of classes they're going to want to take, along with the individual pathways.
That's helpful.
There you go.
Ah, it doesn't want to play nice.
Nope. All right. I can only get 2 at a time, sorry.
There's your shot at being down white.
Right.
Thank you, Dr. Bolton.
Well, sort of.
So, as we were saying with the program of studies, we have currently a Naviance program that's utilized in the counseling office where students can engage with the program of studies and also some other inventories and some software where they're able to interact with the guidance office to sort of develop a plan. We recently just added a new portion of the Naviance program where now we're able to upload certain experiences for the students from outside businesses where they're able to go, the business can go in, post a position that's available for an experience. Maybe it's to follow or shadow a NICU nurse for 8 hours over the course of 2 weeks. And so Grandview would post that on the Naviance side, and then once that's posted and it's been approved through the necessary channels, the students will be able to log into Naviance, see that opportunity, and then be able to say, I might want to apply for that. And then we fill the positions as we can. So that software that's been added here to the high school on Naviance is really gives us the ability to sort of track those experiences for our students, make sure that they're able to take opportunity. So when they're meeting with the counselor or the career pathways coordinator, they're able to sort of see those experiences and really start to have those earlier in their high school career as opposed to once they're off to college. So that's why we sort of get them the opportunity prior to that.
I could just add really
Please.
quickly. We talked about the best venue for students to be able to make this program efficient and to be able, so students would be able to see opportunities and such. In other districts, Souderton has a pathways program and they built a system. And we did look at other systems that we could possibly use. So we had Shannon O'Sullivan, she's one of our guidance counselors, she is on this committee. And she really gave us a better view of the value of using a system the students are already familiar with. So rather than seek other systems, we had the system in place. And she did some investigation and such, and we were just able to upgrade the system that we currently had that the students already knew, and that's the reason why we went in that direction.
Absolutely, just streamline the process a little bit. Thank you. The current school day schedule, you'll see the bullet point there. It's going to talk about as the students grow through this program, their schedule starts to open up as they become a junior or a senior. They have more elective opportunities. So their schedule's a little bit more flexible, so we can then provide them that mentorship opportunity where they're working directly with a business professional in their interest area. And they would work for them for 15, 20 hours in a given mentorship window. And they would directly report to them during the school day. They would have to be accountable, obviously, through the office as far as attendance, et cetera, and all that. But it really, that flexibility in their schedule allowed them to leave maybe that 10th period, go have the experience, come back and reflect the next day on that experience, and then move on to the next step. Moving through.
And Mr. Dyer, I'm
Yes.
sorry, is it true that some of these experiences will be open to all students? And some of the experiences will be for students who are part of this program and are part of the Pathways program? There will be things we're doing from a college and career standpoint for all of our students, right? Some of which we're already doing.
Yes.
But as well, and then these are some of the things we're talking about that would be in addition to that for students who chose that.
Correct.
Okay.
And for example, after we met with the business partners last year in January, Grandview Hospital offered us a 8-spot, 20-hour position at Grandview Health in last June. Unfortunately, COVID erased that. And 4 of those spots were no specific interest in the healthcare world, but they're just for students to come and say, come check the hospital out, see what we do here. We're more than just an ER type of thing. And the other 4 spots were guided for nursing and medical field interests, which would be then, those higher level students who are interested in that career field. But yeah, most of the employers have expressed that, yeah, we have stuff for just general educational purposes, as well as refined, like this is if you want to be a chemical engineer, absolutely, there's opportunities to exist.
And Mr. Dyer, I'm sorry to interrupt too.
No?
How does this interact with the VOTEC program, or doesn't it? Are we like blended together? Because I saw you had some of the manufacturers in there I'm familiar with,
Yes.
and I know what they do. So they're more geared towards, like LK is more geared towards the trades,
Correct.
right? So is there interaction at that?
I would imagine there's definitely going to be an interaction with the local tech school, of course. With Mr. Herrera working, they do already a fabulous job of integrating their corporate partners into their classrooms. We're looking to build that model availability for the whole Penridge community here at the high school. So they've been doing it, as I often say, they've been doing it right for many years. We're going to catch up.
You're going to catch
We're
up.
going to get it right for us anyway. So
Thank you.
absolutely, I would rely on them as quality partners in this process for us.
Ultimately, it's a program to complement what we already have with the tech school,
Okay,
not as a competition.
right.
And that might be, I'm just thinking ahead when you say you want to move it down to the middle school eventually in time. That would be good to get your middle schoolers
Right.
to go do shadowing. Maybe they'll pick a tech school program then,
Absolutely.
more likely than.
Because I'm just
Yeah.
thinking back to my early program, and it was probably middle school that we started cycling through the trades one by one, and then for 9th grade you had to make a decision, right? Do you want to go academic or trade, right? It's a branch at a given point. So that's why I was just thinking back to.
Yeah.
I think another important point to make is that as students have these experiences, they may determine that they do not like. I thought I
Right.
wanted to be an engineer because I'm good at math,
Yeah,
and I never really had any clue of what an engineer did. So if a student has that realization in high school, think of the thousands of dollars and the time they're saving in college
Absolutely.
by not discovering that after paying 2 years of tuition.
moms and dads will thank you.
Absolutely.
Like,
So moving on to a quick summary of how they're going to progress. And again, it's going to engage the student through their whole high school career. And the level of engagement is really up to the student and the parents who want to develop this program for their students. Again, they can totally go through the high school career and not interact with the Career Pathways program. I personally hope they would, but there's no ill effect if they don't. If they decide they want to move on their own, or maybe they want to go into family business or whatever. But it's available to them at all times. So we'll go through a little bit. For example, the freshman year, they'll have like a freshman seminar class sort of to get them ready and started into the high school. What's high school life like? Learn some basic skills in that class as far as like maybe financial management and other types of opportunities for them. And then really just start to explore what the Career Pathways is really about here in Penridge. They'll meet with their guidance counselor, they'll meet with the Career Pathway coordinator, sort of laying out, get a sense of what their interests and what they really want to focus on. especially this time of year when they're picking their classes for their sophomore year, is really gonna be an important time to really meet with them and say, listen, you expressed an interest in this, maybe you wanna follow these classes along that pathway to gain that experience, et cetera, going forward. Their sophomore year, they'll continue learning the career pathway process. They'll start taking their standardized tests, the PSATs will come along. We're gonna get them involved in some writing opportunities for them to really develop a resume going forward, whether they're going off to college or the workforce, skills that are gonna be useful for them throughout. The junior and senior year is really where the experiences start to pile on. They may have a class field trip, either virtually or an on-site field trip their sophomore year, where they may go visit the hospital, for example, and just get a quick tour just to see and feel, and maybe it's something of interest for them. But their junior and senior years, when those mentorships and direct contact with those professionals in their interest field really start to build. And they have multiple opportunities. It's not just a one-shot done deal. If they want to go into this particular field, they have those experiences, and it turns out, like Mrs. Gurr said, not something they're interested in, they can switch gears and go to, maybe they want to go into finance and go work with a financier or something like that for a day or a week or so. So the junior and senior year, because their schedule is a little bit more open, flexible, they have more options to take electives, et cetera, allows us to sort of build those relationships and build those experiences on a broader scale as they're upperclassmen. In their junior year, they're gonna take their SATs, ACTs, they'll take the Asvab, which is the military assessment skills test, sort of just to sort of what their aptitude is and what their skill level really is, and are they really fit out to be, you know, a trauma nurse or something like that. So that'll help us, give us insight into their possible decisions in the future. And of course, with the guidance counselor office, they'll still continue talking about future plan growth as far as education, military, or, you know, workforce development, et cetera. Any questions so far? Everybody's doing okay?
Awesome.
So the method of evaluation that we're going to be moving into, what can be collected and analyzed. So some of the key points that we've noticed in evaluating and reviewing several different districts who already implement career pathways is the reflection piece that the students partake in when they go have an experience. Right? So if a student goes out and has an experience with LK Industries, and they come back and they're going to tell us in a written document what that experience was and what they learned, and what they found out, and what that felt like for them. And that information that they relay back to us, then we can upload that. They'll actually probably put it right on the Naviance, the software program, and that will start to build a portfolio where the more of these experiences they have, the more information they have at their disposal to help them make decisions in the future. So now the costs, as you see there on the screen, there is some minor cost adjustment here. Primarily, getting the information out to the public and to parents is going to be an undertaking for us here. Some next steps for us is to really promote this program, and you'll see there that line item for brochures and flyers, pamphlets, etc. Would all be part of getting the career pathways in front of the parents, in front of the students, and really allow the benefits of the program to our student population. So the idea is once students start to have these experiences and they're positive experiences for them, really the word of mouth, like, hey, I went and worked with so-and-so, it was really cool, you should try it, you should think about it. And that excitement, hopefully we'll start to build a program where we'll need less town hall type of stuff and brochures and literature, and more just discussions about what the program really is for us.
And part of that, if I could just add, is bringing the community together with us. There are so many resources in our community, and so many parents and, you know, family members who have all different careers who could help us and come in and talk to students about that. Because I tell you, the one thing that we really learned, among many things, was there are so many different careers that we thought about, at least I thought about. And the students don't even know they exist. So that's what we really want to say. It's not so small and compacted, I have to be a doctor, I have to be a nurse, I have to be a nurse. There are so many opportunities, even within those careers. And Mr. Kress, to your point about us bringing in people from the labor force coming in here, the one question that we really wanted to ask all of them, it wasn't about being in competition with the tech school or anyone, because the tech school is so fabulous and that is needed. Here, we were talking to them about the soft skills.
Okay.
We were talking to them about what kind of characteristics do you look for in your employees? And they really gave us a lot of information on that. So that's one of the, not one element, many elements, as we built the portrait of a graduate for Penridge, and Chris will talk to you about that. So it's not endless, but it's huge. Students really need to know about all the various opportunities. And one of the, I don't remember which one, it was a lab. I think it was an HR director. You could be an HR director in this lab. Like, I don't know that students typically think that way. And that is the wonderful resource that we have with them and the community at large. So we want to broaden this to bring people in to talk to our students about the opportunities that are out there that they may not even ever thought.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right about the soft skills. It's often overlooked, and it's, as a hiring manager, I look for that. I look for a fit within my group. I look for the soft skills. So, yeah, you're
and we want
absolutely
to
right.
make sure that we don't forget about that. That's equally important.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that when we show you what the portrait of graduate is and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Moving on, there's currently, we're not replacing any course, we're not replacing any program. There's no immediate staff implications at this point. Going forward, obviously if the program balloons to higher levels, we'll have to address, but we're not dropping courses, we're not replacing any programs. We're adding this as a major benefit to our students to allow them to grow in a focused and purposeful manner. So the projected timeline that we're currently working through, you'll see there step one is where we really started several years ago with the vision, the planning, and the creation of that committee. Through that committee, we developed several things, and that committee was very productive and has been wonderful to work with over the years. Moving forward, as they sort of gathered the career pathways of what we're going to be focusing on, what is our mission, the development of shared understanding of the information is critical. We wanted to make sure the information available to the students was broad enough to encompass a broad area of interest, but specific enough that they can really grow. And you can see the 5 career pathways that we are moving forward with. Number 1, arts and communication. We have an engineering, industry and manufacturing, technology, financial, business services, as well as information technology, human and family services, science and health. As we'll get to later on in this program, we're going to have the wonderful music department at the high schools talk about the arts and communications part of it. And we'll have more information with that. Now, these 5 broad areas are going to be developed over the course of the next couple of weeks and months. Sort of what does that include as far as the classes here at Penridge, what type of majors they should be working on. All that information will be available to develop each one of those programs coming forward. So we want to make sure that we are broad enough to include everybody and that we're not so specific that we're excluding certain areas of interest.
So as we looked at all of those, and we can't do everything at once, so what we're starting with really presenting to you with a pilot, and the pilot group will be our wonderful music department back as we're going to talk to you about that. And we want to make sure that we get this right. So we start with a pilot group, with a small group, with a control that we can see what works best. And then, as Mr. Dyer was talking about, see which other pathways, because I can tell you that I have teachers talking to me all the time, can we have this pathway, can we have that pathway? So let's just see, and let's just get this right, and we'll create the model that fits Penridge, and then we'll evolve and expand.
Next, we have the portrait of the graduates that Dr. Shai touched on earlier, and I'm not sure if it's available on that link at all. I'm sorry, Dr.
I have it.
We do have paper copies.
I think it,
Click here, there you go.
there it
There you go.
is.
All right.
So the portrait of a graduate, this is one of those things that large committee, I think it was almost 40 members that we've had since 2018, really worked hard in developing and creating. Sort of gives us a sense of every graduate who walks through our doors. What do we want them to sort of look like? What's their portrait, shall we say? And they're you see the 5 major categories that we're looking for. We want all of our students to be effective good communicators, both written and oral communicators. So we felt that was important for every student, as well as a collaborator, somebody who's able to work with small groups, large groups, work on presentations and deadlines and projects, etc. To really work with their colleagues, work with their classmates, work with their supervisors, work with their teachers. So somebody who's able to collaborate. And so the portrait just continues. The ethical and global citizen really allows the student to think about more than just themselves. They have a big world picture that what they do does impact the community, and that impact does impact their state and then their country, etc. So sort of give them that thinking that what they do directly impacts other people, and hopefully we can make students graduate here with a sense of where they sort of, you know, what I do matters, so I should probably think about it, number one, and two, how can I positively impact those around me? We want them to be creative and critical as well, to engage in several different problems, to be able to solve those problems, come up with answers, really get them to be thinkers, lifelong learners in the process of them growing. We want them to evaluate information and ideas for themselves, to whether it's useful or beneficial to their own use. And finally, goal-directed and resilient. We want them to be able to create goals, work towards a goal, accomplish those goals, and what that feels like. And hopefully they'll have some of that success going through the Career Pathway program. Sort of, they engaged in this program at a very young age, and they saw it all the way through to graduation, and they'll have some of that achievement there at the end. So the portrait of the graduate isn't just for our Career Pathways involved students. It is for everybody at the high school. And this is what we're all striving for our portraits to, or our graduates to look like when they leave our doors.
So in order for that to happen, it doesn't happen when the students come into 9th grade. So the portrait of the graduate really is a K-12 perspective, so that all teachers have this information, so that we're all working on these skills, because this is skill development. And when we listened, we heard what employers are looking for. So we start embedding those types of skills into the curriculum at an early age, so they're solidified and built on, and we're more prepared at the high school to engage in thoughtful discussions about what do I really want, what am I good at, what do you think I could be good at, let me try this, well I don't like that, well let me try this. And really, we absolutely want them to be better prepared in making those decisions. Will they always be 100% right? No, we know that, but it'll be better for them, especially in such a changing world. So, it is a K-12 portrait.
Indeed. So real quick, also that came out of that large committee was the panel for the advisory, the Business Partner Advisory Committee. A little bit about that is the idea is to continue that through the Career Pathways existence. One is those community partners who have businesses locally. will enable us to stay in touch with those community members and what really they're looking for in a portrait or what a graduate should do, soft skills, etc. So that business partner community outreach that we had in January last year wasn't just a one-off. It's going to be a continued process where we're going to solicit information from them, and they're going to be able to give us feedback on our program that we have here at Penn Ridge. How can we make it better? So we're going to continue to incorporate them going forward because we want them to be an active participant in this program as much as our students and teachers and parents are. There will be a coordinator position along the process down the road. The cohort, the last bullet for step 1 there, the identifying of the cohort of students, that's that arts and communication leadership pathway that we're talking about here with the music department. They sort of will take the ball running with that pilot program. So that's where we're sort of finishing up on there on step 1. Step 2, we're really going to have to focus on the program of studies, updating and making it useful for our program, not only for career pathways, but also for our students getting ready to come into high school from the 8th grade rising to freshmen. So we will continue to work on that through the curriculum office in the short time for sure. Externships and teachers in the workplace. These are, under step 2 we are, 2 excellent opportunities for our teachers to really buy in, number 1, to the program, and 2, if you've been teaching for a while, you really haven't been out in the, shall we say, quote unquote, real world. You sort of get insulated here in the walls of Penn Ridge. So these externships and teachers in the workplace allow us to send out teachers during the school day to go experience in their field. All right, so thinking of maybe Mr. Murphy at the high school, send him into, you know, the criminalistic field somewhere where he'll be safe, of course. So he sort of can then take that real world experience and he can bring it into his classroom and say, listen, what I'm teaching you here, it matters. We're sending an English teacher to go be a copy editor at a medical document company. Hey, listen, what you're learning to write here, you're going to need to know in the real world. So it sort of gives them that buy-in and that tie-in to the classroom that they're teaching. All right? So a lot of those opportunities, you know, work with Dr. Cashman and his great staff at the administration level. Obviously, there's going to be some coverages and some balances and stuff that we'll have to work out. But thankfully, the state offers us a lot of opportunities for grants to sort of pay for that, to allow teachers to go and really build their wealth of knowledge in their curriculum and content areas. And they do offer them in the summer,
There are
yes.
some summer
Mhm.
opportunities.
Absolutely. All right, so the freshman seminar course, again, that is still, we're still in discussions on what that's going to look like to give our freshmen an opportunity to sort of get their feet wet and what that actually looks like and feels like. But the idea is to capture those rising freshmen early to sort of give them the proper information they need to be successful, whether they're going to college, whether they're going to the workforce, whether they're going to the military, really sort of get that foundation early. Much work to be done there in the coming months. Then we're moving into the launch. Obviously, we are discussing here with you to sort of get the permission to move forward into the community and building this program going forward. Really to gather all of our stakeholders, whether it be parents, business partners, teachers, students, whatever, sort of get them the information they need about career pathways and how this program is really going to help them in the future and in their decisions going forward. And then by the end of step 2, we have that, you know, the recruitment of students and the selection of those students going forward, and that's really where we're going to want to make sure that we take a step back, and sort of, as you see there in steps 3 and 4, we'll be refined according to the information from the pilot that the music department is going to discuss. we really want to say, okay, so this was the pilot program for this year. What went well? What didn't go well? Where can we make improvements? How can we grow this exponentially? And what kind of changes and growth can we make? So when we start to roll it out to steps 3, 4, and 5, that we're ready for everybody to really benefit as a whole.
Well, we're really counting on the students for feedback with this program, not just about what we see and what we're doing. We are going to get feedback from the students on what worked, what would work better and stuff.
Yeah, and that's, so everything we have here in step 3, 4, and 5 is going to be based upon that particular feedback that we're going to receive. Is there any questions at this juncture?
It's getting it a little bit ahead, but when you talk about students going out into these workplaces, I just had the thought about, you know, explaining to the people that our students are going to go work with, our expectations, and whether or not those people would have any kind of, you know, the checks that we normally have for people who are going to work with our students.
Absolutely, and that's very important, and something we want to consider that we address thoroughly. There's several different options that are available that many other districts are exploring at this time currently. I couldn't say that this is definitely what we're going to do until we sort of hash out that part of the details. But from my knowledge, they would fall under that extended private contact with the students. So all of the experiences students would incur or be involved with would be for either in larger group settings, working with a team, or if they're working with an individual. The parents obviously would have to sign off on this. The employers giving us information that they are going to abide by parentage standards. And according to the state, as long as we maintain that contact time under a certain number of hours, we're okay to call it as a mentorship as opposed to an apprenticeship. If you say apprenticeship, now you're going to be talking, you know, dozens and dozens of hours of contact that would now exceed that threshold of acceptability. So when we get ready to push them out into that arena, we will certainly have that ready for approval as far as make sure we're meeting our own guidelines and criteria, because it is important.
Thanks.
Are the students going to be, let me put it this way, are the companies that the students are going to, are they going to be able to provide feedback back to the committee as to the student himself or herself and how they performed within the company? I haven't seen that yet, but it should be later on.
So I can talk to the point as far as developing the reflection piece will come from multiple sources. That's a fantastic question. I know several districts, Southern in particular, when a student has an experience, that employer provides some feedback about the student, how well they perform, as well as, now you've had this experience, you should maybe go X, Y, Z to experience more. So there is multiple feedbacks that are occurring, not only from the student side, but also from the employer side. And the employer side would have a lot of interaction with the career pathway coordinator, and they would be able to say, if they didn't want to make their comments public, they listen, you know, the last couple of kids you sent us, they really lacked this soft skill. So then we would focus on, okay, maybe we need to develop their ability to, you know, make eye contact when they're having a conversation type of thing, or whatever the soft skill might be. So that way we can then better educate our students going into that particular field. Say, listen, if you want to go in this area, you need to do X, Y, and Z pretty well. This is what the employer's looking for. And so absolutely there's a feedback portion on the software that the employer would be able to provide that feedback. And they can either make it public to the student or just privately to us as the committee as a whole.
I personally think they gotta make it public to the student. That's a personal. You're getting them ready to go into the real world. Sometimes those hard circumstances that come up by, I think it's right, but you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Excuse me, son, but you need to sit down and rethink this.
Yeah.
That's an eye-opening experience that I think all students should experience.
That's certainly
I know I did.
extremely valid information,
That
without
explains
a doubt. Nope, I just wanted to, so I was going to not go through steps 3, 4, and 5. They're there for you. Again, a lot of that's gonna change potentially based upon what kind of information we sort of gather from our friends here in the music department, which you guys are ready.
I think that the presentation that you're going to see may kind of encapsulate everything that we're talking about, maybe you'll be able to see it. So,
Would you like us here, or would you
here, you can come right here.
Come on up.
Oh, yeah.
You just let me know.
He's got the clicker. It's like the TV remote, you know?
The kids were arguing over the floor. Who's got the remote?
Hello. They're gonna do short introductions and then get started.
My name's Marissa Gariello, and I'm the high school orchestra director, and I'm joined by our band director, Kevin Fair, and our fantastic new choir director, Ms. Krishna. And we are so excited to introduce to you the music pilot pathway for the career pathways. And we're just so excited about this because this allows us to hit a lot of our goals that we've been hoping and dreaming for as the department. So we're thrilled to be here tonight. So as we've discussed, this is part of a larger pathway, which you'll see in the presentation, but we're focusing really just on one little slice of it, which is the music part for next year, to keep it small for this pilot so that we can really collect data and see how everything functions. So just to highlight some of the things that we'll be seeing in the pilot, hopefully, we're looking at targeting a small group of students, about 30 to 40 kids, of all academic achievement lessons through 9th through 12th grade. And as a group of adults working through this pilot, we really want to make sure that we're guiding the students to select courses that focus on their career pathways. So if they're entering partway through their high school career, we'll guide them to find their way, or if they're entering from middle school, we'll help them get started as well. But then as a group, we also want to do regular check-ins to make sure that we're getting the desired outcomes from the scheduling changes. We want to make sure that that seminar that we're adding, hopefully during the RAMS period, is effective the way that we would hope. And we're also hoping that the career opportunities and experiences for our older students are panning out, of course, the way that we would like as well. So obviously, we'll be checking in with ourselves and the students. And then, as Chris has already stated, at the end of the year, we will regroup and we'll talk about what worked well, what needs more support. We'll talk about what software we might need to move forward, and then make recommendations for school-wide implementation. So this is what the whole pathway would look like on a larger scale for the arts and communication leadership pathway. So again, we're looking at a very small slice of it. The students who might want to be musicians, performers, composers, producers, music teachers, musicologists, or historians, and some other offerings that we have in the department. But in the whole pathway, we're looking at a much broader piece of the puzzle where students would be able to take part in a lot of different opportunities within the pathway. So if a student were to enter in 9th grade, this is what their full pathway would look like. They're always taking their core courses, the pathway seminar. They're always in some kind of ensemble. So right now we have our honors and academic band, choir, and orchestra options. We're also hoping at some point to add a beginner method. We have a lot of students who might start an instrument in elementary or middle school, drop it, and then wish they hadn't. And then they feel like they can't rejoin at the high school level. So we're hoping a beginner methods course can get back in there. We can catch them up and then push them over to an academic or honors ensemble. And then with the free time in their schedule, which gets to be more as you become a junior or senior, we'll fill up those extra courses with electives that would be tailored towards their chosen career. And we're working with a subject advisor to make sure that we're guiding the student properly towards their career choice. Love it.
And so I just want to highlight that you could change this to anything across the top, because the core classes aren't going to change, right? The academic graduation requirements that all students take 9 through 12 are going to continue to be taken 9 through 12. What happens is, as you get more and more flexibility as you move into 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, how do you gear those academic classes and your electives towards your interest at that time? And if it changes, it changes, but if it doesn't, you've then worked your way through these courses relate, and it will help me get where I want to go.
So currently in the music department, as I previously stated, we do have 6 ensembles: academic, choir, band, orchestra, and honors band, choir, orchestra. We also have guitar 1, keyboarding 1 and 2, theory, AP music theory, music and media, and music technology. We're hoping to add a few, not for next year, but the year following that. However, next year, again, we're hoping to get that seminar in on those Rams days. But we found for our guitar class that we do have a large contingency of students that's really underrepresented in our music program. That's the students who's interested in pop, alternative, or rock music. And right now, we really only cater to those interested in traditional ensemble music, band, choir, orchestra. So we're hoping to get eventually that popular music business course in there, and then guitar 2/rock ensemble, so that we can get those students who are looking to do something a little bit more modern as well into the music department. So again, I think Chris hit on this pretty nicely, but our seminars are really tailored towards getting those students ready for college. So we're looking at using these seminars to explore possible careers, get them ready for college admissions, and in such a niche career choice like music, it also gives us the opportunity to work with them on their college audition material, do recordings with them, build a resume that's tailored towards the field of music, and really help them navigate those twists and turns that a standard modern dad who might not be in music might not be able to help them out with. And then again, you can check out the other courses that we're looking to add, but that's not for next year, so we can skip through these guys if you'd like. And then through all of this, this is just the important to note from all of this. That is hard for me to read from here. So students will be assigned an advisor that is going to help them make choices that fit their career goals. So if someone wants to go into wind performance, they would be assigned to Kevin. If someone's interested in orchestral playing, they would come to me, so that they're really speaking with someone who's in their specialty. Again, there's many other elective offerings in this larger pathway, so they might not be showing up next year in the pilot, but eventually they will be. The seminars, again, they're focused on college and career readiness, so even if they switch pathways, they're still on that track to be ready for that. And then scheduling adjustments might have to be made to just reevaluate and unlock student schedules a little bit to make this pilot happen next year. That's where we are.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And when we thought about where we should go when we wanted to start or get a pilot for pathways, we went right to the start because we knew that they would be excited about it, and there's so much room for innovation, and we can't thank you enough. And thank you for presenting tonight. We really appreciate that. Does anyone have any questions for?
I have a quick thought.
Okay.
I think what you've demonstrated up here is fabulous. But my thought is this. There have been graduates over the past 10, 15 years that have gone through the typical quote-unquote educational program, but have excelled in certain areas. Could be music. I mean, I know a young lady that's in Philadelphia Orchestra. I mean, the high school has built a base that she's learned from to grow. You ever think about bringing some of those folks back and literally talk to the students? That I didn't have pathways as a career choice when I went to high school, but these are the things I learned that helped me get through it. Having pathways would be a greater experience to lead her to her end result. I just think the students that are out there and that have graduated, that have excelled, and just in regular jobs can really add a lot back to the individual student and say, hey, I want to emulate that person, or that's a great idea. Something to think about.
Yeah, absolutely, that's a great idea, and of course, we would reach out to them, and they would come back and talk to us, and then it's almost, it just makes me think about, what's the difference between not having the pathway here, as opposed to
Exactly.
having it, and
Right.
now, you know, the difference in it, and I think that the students who weren't part of it and are experiencing success, or even if they didn't in the beginning, they could share what those hurdles were,
Correct.
with the staff too. Perfect, thank you so much.
Well,
Yeah, is there a way too with the programming that after our students graduate, moving forward, that our students that are in it now, 5 years from now, that there's some sort of forum that they can still stay connected to the department, and it'll be easier to have the contact
Yeah,
right there.
that's another great idea.
Yeah.
Right, because it's a learning cycle.
Mhm.
It's always
Right.
going to be about improving and bringing them back and out and get better. They're both great ideas, yes. So thank you. Any other questions for them?
No.
We thank you
Really
so
good.
much for your attention tonight. It was a lot of information, so we appreciate you listening through that, and thank the presenters. We're excited about it. We know that everything that we talked about tonight may not be exactly the way it goes, but we really hope that you're as excited as we are as we move forward.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
so much.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
questions.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Dyer.
All right, Dr. Scheid?
Actually, I'm going to ask Ms. Dr. Barczyk to go ahead and go,
Okay,
if that's okay.
I got you.
Thank you. So, good evening, everyone. I am coming to you tonight just to share, there obviously is new development going on in the district, all over the place. And one of the communities that is going up currently is the townhouses on Ridge near,
Near my house.
is it right near your house? So the THP property, it's called Cedar Ridge Community, and this is just a proposal for the pre-districting, if I can get my words out, districting, to show you where the lines are in regards to the separation from one elementary school and middle school to another. So if you can go to the next one, Dr. Bolton.
And it's just important to learn the
Okay.
difference in the words, because redistricting scares people,
That's true.
Yeah.
right? So if people mishear this and think that we're talking about redistricting, they get
Yeah.
concerned.
Emphasize
And you'll
This
see it's a
This is
minor,
a strategy where we
minor
are
change.
pre-districting, which means we take families who are not currently in the system, who are not currently here, houses that aren't even currently built yet, and reassign, or in this case,
To
decide
assign.
where they'll be going so they know in advance. Right, exactly right.
free assignment. So it is a new townhome development. There are 23 units being built. And it is, as I said, on Ridge Road near West Park Ave. It is right behind the Revival Outreach Center. So the current attendance line, as you'll see in the next, on the next slide, divides the community between 2 elementary schools and 2 middle schools. West Rock Hill and Dibler, and South and North. So where the townhouses are currently being built, there are no active residents on this property. As you can see, the construction's underway as you pass by. The first of the settlements is expected at the end of May, and then with the completion of next winter for all 23 homes.
So spring.
So springtime, yeah, exactly. So based on the state average, they account for every townhome as 1.4 children. And these are 3 and 4 bedroom townhomes, so it would be the typical 1 to 1.4. They are pretty big. They're starting in the mid to upper 300s, so they're good size, and the THP development, as I said. So they would bring a possibility of 32.2 total students across K to 12. So the adjusted lines that will encompass the entire community in 1 elementary school and 1 middle school, which we propose for West Rock Hill and South. And I'll show you why as we look at this. So the current attendance area is designated for Diablo and North Middle Schools. And there are no residents on this land, as I said. It's an empty lot that was purchased by THP probably about 1.5 years ago is what the gentleman reported to me. So the purple, whoops, sorry, if you go back 1 second, Doctor. On the purple is Diabler, and the orange is West Rock Hill. And again, the purple would be North Middle School, the orange being South Middle School. So there's the development itself, and you can see where the loop is, where Revival's Outreach Center would be, and the 23 homes along that bottom land. So when you go to there's the satellite view of it, where the pile of dirt is above Revival's Outreach Center. That is where the first of the townhouses are going up. And if you remember from that previous map, that purple cuts right underneath that mound of dirt. So you would literally have probably about 3 or 4 townhomes that would be on Diabler's side, and all the rest of the property be on West Rock Hill side. So that was part of the problem when they started developing the land.
Yeah.
So basically what we're proposing onto the next slide is that the adjusted area will be that purple and orange, where the purple is cutting into the orange side.
Well, wait,
Oh, what?
I don't see the difference. It looks the same.
Well, it's subtle, it's real.
Well, no,
So is it similar?
my
There's
little
not-
presentation's not correct on there.
It doesn't, it looks the
Yeah.
same, but,
Here, let me, if it's okay. I don't know.
So basically,
so basically
It's
what
got-
the kids do all
basically we're
the same
taking
school.
orange and we're gonna cut it over here.
Okay.
So that
they
all
can
of the
all
townhomes
go
are,
to the same
So-
school.
correct.
I don't know
So,
why this one
I
down
like
here.
that,
But right up this road, right here,
yeah,
and then like literally a 90-degree angle.
okay,
over.
right,
The
okay.
only home that's existing right now in what's remaining Diablo area is over right here
Okay.
on North, whoop,
Ah.
on North
Well, there
Bridge.
you
Oh,
go.
there you can see it.
There it is.
Right North
Okay.
Bridge. So literally, this is that access road. It would go up and cut across.
Okay,
So just that little purple
just
area.
so that the kids can all go to the same school.
Correct. They would all be in the same
Yeah.
elementary school and same middle school.
I just
I
thought
think
it
it's
should be
safe.
said out loud. I just thought we should say it out.
Helps
loud.
transportation
All in the
a little
same.
bit.
Yeah.
So then,
And that was
which,
important,
and which
obviously.
school will they go to then?
So they would go to West Rock Hill Elementary
Okay,
and South Middle School.
okay.
Okay.
And they can, and that, the capacity is there.
The capacity is there for sure.
Okay.
Yes. Between those two schools.
Well, I think it makes sense.
Yeah, yeah,
No-brainer.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting.
All different.
we never
That was-
envisioned that there would be something back there.
Oh, yeah, no.
I'm gonna talk to Mr. Miller about whether there is a legal pre-districting motion that we need to put forward because we are changing attendance lines.
That's a
Yeah,
good
And
point.
so I don't know whether this is an information item or an action item coming to
Okay.
us in March, but it will allow us to communicate with the builder to be able to say, as you're putting this out to families, because right now the
Right.
publication just says Penridge Schools.
That is it.
It does not name a school, and so that way they
Okay.
can name a school if they're asked, so that they know which one it is. And so we'll get you that information if it needs to be a motion, or if we just can do it by saying, yes, we're going to do it.
okay.
Okay?
And I have to say, they were wonderful because, and they were excited that we were being this proactive about, about the situation. Because they're in another development right now, not far from us, where it's split between 2 schools. And there was no action taken in advance. And now people are settling on homes thinking they're going to one school over another.
Oh my,
So,
that's bad.
Well, speaking of schools and real estate, I am noticing more and more that real estate listings are saying, the Penridge School District, exclamation point. So,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Good thing.
All right,
Yep.
all right,
I'm
back
good.
to you, Dr. Scheid, for cheerleading.
Yeah, I just wanted to provide an update from the activities meeting, I think it was back in October, where we asked that the cheerleaders could go to Florida, and it will now be a virtual event.
Okay.
Okay, so they will not be traveling to Florida, I wanted to let you know that. That team is working on seeing if they can bring families in to watch it with them. When they provide us the update, I'll provide it to you, but I wanted to let you know they won't be. Okay, thank you.
All right,
There is no public comment.
no public comment, okay. You are adjourned.
Okay. Ms. Cooper, if you would stop the live stream, we're going to take a couple-minute break just to stretch our legs, and then we'll come back live.
It's 30 pages.
All right, so we are back on the live stream. Mrs. McHale is participating by phone, Dr. Thompson, and at this time there is no public comment. So I'll hand it over to you to begin the meeting.
Great, thank you so much. First, we have the cafeteria plan renewal, and I'll hand it over to Ms. McHale.
Okay, can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
We can.
All right, awesome. So some of you might be asking, what a cafeteria plan is. Basically, it is a reimbursement plan that's governed by Section 125. Oops, hold on. Let me just... I think I need to...
She's got the live feed somewhere else.
Okay, so it is governed by Section 125 of the IRS code, and it allows employees to contribute a certain amount of their gross income to a designated account or accounts on a pre-tax basis, such as an FSA. These accounts are usually used for medical expenses or dependent daycare expenses, and then the employee can be reimbursed through the plan year or the claim period as they incur expenses from their FSA account. So what brought us to the restatement of this plan document were mainly the changes under the legislation, the Taxpayer Certainty and Disaster Relief Act of 2020, that permitted an uncapped carryover of funds from the 6/30/20 and the June 30th, 2021 plan year end dates. Obviously, that was due to the pandemic. So upon review of the plan, we realized that it hadn't been through the review process in quite a number of years and was in need of a legal review and full restatement. So my HR team met remotely with members of Mr. Miller's team to review the plan details and bring it up to date with current legislation and practice by Penridge School District. And I understand this document is not glamorous or exciting, but I don't, and it's often shelved and left to collect dust, but I don't want to underestimate the importance of remaining in compliance with IRS code and having a legally reviewed and restated plan document, which is what we bring to you tonight. So some of the things, and I'm not going to go through the entire list of changes, because there were quite a few, and again, there was a lot of back and forth with our legal team and questions and clarifications that we had on our end. But some of the areas that we looked at were salary reduction commencement, unpaid and paid leave of absence contributions and benefit continuity, limited balance carryover, the run-out period for terminating participants, employee eligibility and when that's effective, when payroll deductions start. So that's just a small handful of those items that we looked at to bring this in compliance with our current practice, and again that new legislation that we wanted to offer to all of the staff. So I just wanted to shout out to Mr. Miller's associates, Heather Fletcher and Bill Carter, for their input in providing this legally sound document that I'm very happy and confident to bring to you this evening. It's not something that, most companies look at on a regular basis. It's put on the shelf, but it's a very necessary document, and having that legal review, it lets me sigh and sleep at night knowing that we are in compliance. So I bring this to you this evening. I'm asking for your approval to move it to the full board, and are there any questions?
Mrs. McHale, just to be clear, there are no costs associated for either the district or for the employee. This is just updating our practice. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. There is a benefit to the employee by allowing this full carryover of funds through June of 2021 and having that, again, in the document as stated. And then working with our FSA carrier to make that, happen on their end as well. So it is a little bit of a benefit. And again, we're stating this in our document and showing that we're in compliance with the regulations.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, if there's no questions, I'm going to move along to item number 2, which is more or less a housekeeping item. It's the renewal of our long-term disability plan that was initiated in 2016 for PESPA and PEA members. And I'm very happy to present a renewal that reflects a 2-year rate guarantee with no increase through February of 2023. The reason the date is February is because that's when it was implemented following negotiations in 2015-16 school year. So it initially took effect February 1st, 2016. So the renewal date then again reflects February. So the second part of this that I'm putting before you for consideration is that the Act 93 group is not covered under this core plan that's sponsored by the district. So I went to the carrier. We've obtained a proposal to see what it would cost to include the Act 93 members in the core sponsored plan. And they came back after reviewing the data and provided us with a quote of $17,562 as an annual premium to cover all of the members of that plan. So I wanted to put that before you for your consideration to see if you would be agreeable to adding those folks into the core plan. Are there any questions on that?
Mrs. McHale? Yeah, it's Bill. How are the Act 93 employees covered today?
So they're not covered under the long-term disability plan. They do have the option to buy into it, as everyone does, but they are not covered under that core plan that the district provides to PEA members and to PESPA members. And that core plan, just as some information, is a 90 calendar day qualification period. So it's like a 90-day wait period.
Understood.
Before you receive the benefit.
So this would be changing the Act 93 agreement. What we have with them isn't considered a
Right.
contract, right, per se. But,
Correct.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
That would be changing that agreement. And when was that supposed to expire?
The current agreement, Ms. Kale, with Act 93
I'm sorry, the current agreement with Act 93
Is
does
up
not
with-
include a long-term disability.
and when is it currently up?
Next year,
So June of 2022.
2022. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I didn't ask it well. So the other option would be to wait a year and have discussions about including it in the next agreement.
That would be the other option, yes.
Okay.
Right, like a year and a half.
While we
Yeah,
were
yeah,
reviewing, I thought I would put that before you for your consideration.
This is the time, a year from now, when those conversations will
Right,
start
right.
to be able to,
Right.
you know, to create something that would go into play that July.
And,
Um,
and the financial impact is then,
Well, there's only how many people in Act 93? It's not a huge number. 40, 35? It's a small
It's just-
number.
That would be the other option, yes.
It's a replay.
Feedback.
Yeah, yeah.
You hit the 15.
Well, I would recommend that it instead of redoing an agreement with 1 year left
Right.
with the Act 93 group, I would recommend that you, if you're
Let it
okay
go
with
till the
that,
agreement's
waiting
up.
Yeah,
and
that's what
we would-
and having that conversation a year
Next
from
year
now.
from
Because it is the
now,
only
from
group
now.
that currently does not have it,
Right.
so it would
which
be-
is
we'd be
why Ms.
talking
McHale wanted to
February
bring it
next
up,
year.
so,
Mm-hmm.
correct.
To me,
So,
that
So
just makes more sense.
if we are okay then with moving forward with the 2-year renewal,
Yes.
you know, I would ask that you approve that to be moved to the full board.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Does anybody have?
No interest.
All right. Well,
Okay.
thank you very much. And of course, as always, I'm very happy to acknowledge tenure for 3 individuals who had mid-year hires that are listed on your agenda: Ashley Bierman, Laura Crawley, and Jennifer Hurley.
Yes.
Sure.
And that is the end of
We
my
like that.
agenda.
Awesome.
Any questions?
No, thank you,
No.
Thank you, Ms. McHale.
Thank you.
Yes.
And
Alrighty,
now
thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Good night.
All right, I think we're back to public comment.
there is no additional public comment that has been submitted.
All right, the next personnel committee is scheduled for April 6th. We're done.
It's March, isn't it?
Okay.
It says April, yeah. So it
Yeah.
must be, there must be March.
Yep.